Hey everyone, and welcome to STEMify. Have you ever looked at a derivative problem and thought, wait, why can't I just use the power rule? If so, you're in the right place. Today, I'm going to be teaching you the chain rule, one of the most important derivative rules in AP Calculus AB. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly when to use chain rule, how to solve chain rule problems, and how to avoid some of the most common mistakes students make. So, let's get started. Let's take a look at this function, x squared plus 3 to the 5th power. At first glance, it looks like a normal power rule problem. But notice that what is being raised to the 5th power isn't just x, it is x squared plus 3. In other words, we have a function inside another function. Whenever you see a function inside another function, that's when chain rule comes into play. So we have our outside function, which will be our parentheses to the 5th power, and then we have our inside function, which is just x squared plus 3. Chain rule is actually really simple. You take the derivative of the outside function, and then you multiply it by the derivative of the inside function. That's it. Let's see what it looks like. First, I'm gonna bring down the 5 and subtract 1 for the exponent. So we get 5. We're gonna keep the x squared plus 3 just like how it is. We're not gonna touch it. So we're gonna keep the x squared plus 3, and then we're gonna subtract 1 from the 5 due to the power rule, and you get 4. That's the derivative of the outside function. Now, all we have to do is take the derivative of the inside function, which, if you take the derivative of the inside function of x squared plus 3, you get 2x. And all you do is now you multiply it to this outside function. So you get 5 times x squared plus 3 to the 4th power times 2x. And that is our answer. That's the derivative of y. Notice that I differentiated the outside function first, and then I multiplied by the derivative of the inside function. Many students on some problems differentiate the inside function first and then differentiate the outside function. However, I would not always recommend that because in some scenarios, it could actually get you the wrong answer, or it could be a lot more difficult. So let's try another example. Let's try y equals 3x minus 1 to the 4th power. So again, let's identify the outside function, which is our parentheses to the 4th power. And then our inside function, which is 3x minus 1. Now, you take the derivative of the outside function, which is going to be 4 times 3x minus 1. You bring down the 4, and then you subtract 4 minus 1, which is 3. And now, we're going to take the derivative of the inside function. So, the derivative of 3x minus 1, which is just 3. And we're going to multiply that derivative of the inside function to the derivative of the outside function. So, times 3. And that is our answer right there. Many students, however, forget to multiply the 3. Many students actually stop right at the outside function. This is probably the most common mistake students make with a chain rule. They take the derivative of the outside function and stop. But you can't forget the derivative of the inside function. The chain rule requires both steps, and you can simplify this into 12 times 3x minus 1 to the 3rd power. So let's move on. Let's try another example. Now let's try one that's a little bit more challenging. Y equals the square root of x squared plus 1. The first thing I'm going to do is rewrite the square root as a power. So y equals x squared plus 1 to the 1/2 power, because the square root is the same thing as taking something to the 1/2 power. Now, this looks like a normal chain rule problem. Now, what I could do is I can differentiate the outside, which would mean I bring down the 1/2, keep the x squared plus 1 the same, and then 1/2 minus 1 is just negative 1/2. And now I take the derivative of the inside function, which is 2x. And this is the derivative of our function now. However, let's simplify this. You might be able to leave this function just like if you're writing an FRQ. However, on a multiple choice question, this is not how the function will show up. It will be a lot more simplified. Therefore, if we're answering this on a multiple choice question, we should simplify this. First thing we'll do is let's distribute the negative 1/2 power. And we get 1/2 times, whenever you're going to the negative exponent, you're pretty much bringing it to the reciprocal. Therefore, we have 1 over x squared plus 1. And the negative 1, the 1/2 means that we're taking the square root. So we're just going to take the square root times our 2x. One thing we did see is that the 2 and the 2 and the 1/2 cancel out. And our final answer will be x times the square root of x squared plus 1. That's our final answer. That's all you have to do. Now it's your turn. Pause the video and try solving this problem on your own. Y equals 5x cubed minus 2 to the 7th problem. See if you can identify the outside function and the inside function before continuing. If you got that answer, great job. If not, check whether you remember to multiply by the derivative of the inside function. Now let's do another challenge problem. This time, we're going to be working with exponential functions, which is going to be y equals e to the x squared. Pause the video and try it yourself. Now, let's try to go through this problem together. So, we have an outside function and the inside function. The inside function is x squared. And just to make our lives easier, let's just call this u. So, u equals x squared. It's just a variable. U is just a variable. There's nothing super fancy about it. Our outside function is just going to be e to the u. Let's just say that. E to whatever our function u is. First thing you should always do is take the derivative of the outside function. So derivative of e to the u or e to the x, whatever you want to call it, is still just e to u. Now, we're going to plug in that u, which you should get as e to the x squared. Now what we're going to do is take the derivative of the inside function. Our inside function is x squared, and the derivative of x squared is 2x. That's our answer. Y prime equals e to the x squared times 2x. Great job. Even though the outside function changed, the process still stayed exactly the same. So let's do a quick recap for chain rule. First thing you should do is differentiate the outside. Then multiply by the derivative of the inside. Whenever you have a function inside another function, you should think of chain rule. First, you can do any of these two steps, but you can always solve chain rule problems by identifying what comes first and after. If this video helped you, make sure to subscribe to STEMify for more calculus, AB, and AP chemistry content. My goal is to make difficult STEM concepts simple and easy to understand. If there's a topic you would like me to cover next, leave it in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.